Good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing? Today's a Super Reds Day. Yesterday was my Greens Day. I'm alternating. And, this is, of course, has a lot of vitamins, antioxidants for those of you who are trying to build your immune system up, especially in this COVID-19. It's really important to build yourself up, especially since we all have to go out to the store, and some of us are working in person, which is really difficult. I was getting the car fixed yesterday, and then someone was like, "Yeah, on your way to work," and I was like, "People are working." I know it's out. People are working like in a place. I know it sounds so strange to me, but it shouldn't. I like to drink my water down a bit because if I don't, then the supplement will make it overflow a bit. So it just a good practice. And then I put it in my water bottle, just because it's not as messy to try to clean up later. And then, as I'm shaking this up, you all know that I do It Works and Avon, right? And so there's been a larger conversation for the cleanse. And so I was deciding, first off, the wraps. So I've tried the Avon wraps and I've tried the It Works wraps. I have used It Works wraps off and on for a year now. I'm getting really focused and using it consistently, like at least once a week. And I find better results with It Works. I took a break from It Works wraps so I could use my Avon wraps, and I absolutely hate my Avon wraps. And so I am running right back to It Works when it comes to its wraps. So It Works wraps versus Avon wraps. It Works wins hands down. And the thing is when you do your It Works wrap, you have, and I ordered some. It hasn't come yet, so I'm eagerly waiting for my It Works wraps. When you order them, when you use it, you have to for 72 hours drink a lot of water. And I would highly recommend that you do not use it at night, because you will have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night if you decide to use your wraps in the evening and not use your wraps in if you don't use your wraps in the morning. It just makes your life a lot easier. And so that's, something to consider. So I was like, okay, which cleanse is more effective? I like the It Works cleanse. I think of it like a shot, like a double shot. I know that's the alcohol side coming out of me, but that's how it's 4 shots, and you're supposed to do 2 in the morning. And you're supposed to do 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon for over the course of 2 days. I've tried both methods and it's fine, and it works immediately. But I will say that I prefer to do 1 a day, like 1 in the morning over the course of 4 days. It's easier on me, and it produces the same type of results. So now I've been making and I've witnessed it. So for those of you who, so now I was like, well, let me compare the Avon cleanse, and Avon cleanse is Aspira. And you're supposed to take 3 capsules in the morning and 3 capsules in the evening. And I'm going to see if it actually, how I feel with it, and I'm going to do it over the course of 2 days. I think I'm more surprised at how many pills come in a pack, right? So, there are quite a bit in here. Oh, and then there's a packet too. There's quite a bit in here, and so it looks like you're supposed to do it over the course of 3 days, and so you're supposed to, and then they have a high, they have 10 things that you're supposed to be doing, and 10 things you're supposed to be doing while you're doing it right now, right? So there's the AM pack, which are the capsules, and then the PM pack are more like the pills, and they have it where it says PM at the back and AM on the front. So you definitely, on the back of this, so you definitely should not be mixing them up. It looks like this is over the course of 3 days, whereas It Works is over the course of 2 days. So we're going to see if the It Works or the Aspire is better. And, I know that there's a few people that are waiting for my evaluation. Okay, so we're still going to use the keto coffee in the morning. I have a lot of supplements here. Okay, I am getting myself together for sure, which is cool. I'm going to put all this stuff back in the box because there's like way too many things around here, trying to keep up. Okay, so my It Works. And getting my coffee together. And remember, like, the coffee together, I like my coffee. I actually prefer hot coffee actually, I don't really have a preference over which one is the most. But I do know that my tolerance level for sweetness, I like stuff that's hot, that has to be kind of sweet, unless it's tea. I really hate putting sugar in my tea. It's just so bizarre. I think it's because when I was a kid, my mother never let me put sugar in my tea. And so the only sugar that I may put in tea would be green tea. Everything else, I gotta take it straight. Mint tea, whatever. By the way, like, if mint tea is really, really great for your diet, like cleaning yourself out. It's just like green tea. But the cool thing about mint tea, especially if you don't use sugar, it's really great for your breath, right? And you don't need an Altoid. It works better than any Altoid, any fresh breathener, whatever. So it's really cool to drink like mint tea, especially if you're on a date. You want to make sure that things are great. Well, we're not dating in COVID-19, right? I mean, I don't know. I'm not single. Anyway, so it's just strange. Like, I don't like sweetener in any of my tea. So if I have to put sweetener, then it's, and that's the thing that when they say, oh, it's 0 calories, well, it seems like it's 0 calories and then you put all this sugar in it. But for It Works, if I drunk this hot, then I definitely would need some sugar. Like, and then it defeats the whole purpose of It Works, right? So this is why I need it to be chilled. Notice notice my new cup. I finally found the cup. Like, this is what it looks like, the cover. It's a weird little mechanism here for drinking, and I was just like, I'm not in the mood for all that. But no, this is the pairing of the cup. So I'm really excited. When I bought it, I feel like I have so many pills and stuff over here. Well, I'm wearing my Dr. Ballmer's Avon moisturizer. Feels great. Yeah. It's just so strange because when I was younger, I hated moisturizer. Like, I was like, I'm not wearing this. So it's just so strange that I am a woman with all this moisturizer and stuff. Here's the thing: if you're a person who hates popping pills, then you definitely do not want to do the Avon one. So I get that. I personally am a pill popper. In the sense, like, I don't mind popping pills at all. Like, I have no problems with it. Even if they were big, it doesn't matter to me. I years ago, when I was a teenager and I was afraid of swallowing pills and stuff like that, it was like, okay, well, you're now out of the phase of like chewable medicine. And then I was coming up with so many different ways to crunch medicine up into stuff, and the taste was just enough to disrupt my stomach. And I was like, okay, Liz, you need to get it together. Like, I did that for about 6 or 7 months, and I was like, you can't chew medicine. It's gross. And then the lasting effect of it, you can't crunch it up and put it in water bottles, which I tried that too. And I was just like, I can't. So let me say that my AM pack with your cleanse, you're supposed to have a big container of water. My sorority sister, my dean, bought me this when we were in Atlanta. And so there we go. Okay. I actually had a few things that I wanted to read you something. Because I think I was struck by the statement. So I've already done a review on How to Be an Antiracist by Ibram Kendi, because this and White Fragility are like two books that are flying off the shelves all over the country. It's as if there's been this great awakening, which is fine. I'm all for great awakenings. And actually there's a couple of schools that I teach at that are trying to have this a part of their book club, and I was just like, okay, I'm not rereading it. Anyway, there was a quote that I thought was really kind of interesting that he brings up, and he's bringing up Martin Luther King Jr. He was bringing up the decision for Brown v. Board in 54. And he made and Martin Luther King reflected on this decision when he said Martin Luther King Jr. also privately disagreed with Brown v. Board. He said, I favor integration on buses and in all areas of public accommodation and travel. I think integration in our public schools is different. King told two black teachers in Montgomery, Alabama in 1959. White people view black people as inferior. People with such a low view of the black race cannot be given free rein and put in charge of the intellectual care and development of our boys and girls. I think, well, it's not that I think. Martin Luther King Jr. has been ridiculously misinterpreted. And people, and I think part of it is because you're only taught the I Have a Dream speech. And I'm going to be honest, like, that by far, I mean, it's a nice speech, not disputing it, right? And even if you hear the history of the speech and the influence of Mahalia Jackson, then you would have a more appreciation for the speech. And I do. That's not my favorite speech. And even when I go down to, when I went to Atlanta, I was like, I wanted to get some of his, when I was looking through some of the things that I could possibly purchase, I was stunned that you can actually get to the mountaintop. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can get a copy of this? Like, this is so great. This is fabulous. And so I ran and picked it up. Like, that is one of my favorite speeches, To the Mountaintop, which is one of his last speeches before he was assassinated. People do not realize that Martin Luther King, being nonviolent is not a sign of weakness, and he believed in additional racial uplift, which is so strange because Malcolm X and Martin Luther King were not different, or even Carmichael. They weren't that different. The messaging and the package was different, but part of that messaging and packaging that was different, and I think he talks about this in the Antiracist a bit, is people forget that Martin Luther King's neighborhood, Martin Luther King's upbringing, his undergraduate coursework was in a all black space, right? And so he has been raised in blackness. He existed in blackness. And so I think that we're not understanding the fullness of who Martin Luther King is, and the influence of that. Like, people like to talk about the influence of Gandhi, and I'm not disputing that, but you've got to remember the influence of Morehouse. You got to remember the influence of pledging a fraternity, and all of even the brotherhood amongst the various black fraternities that he surrounded himself with. Just because you pledge an alpha doesn't mean that you're only friends with alphas. Like, so you have this surroundingness of blackness that formulated who he was, which is a little different from the experience of Malcolm X, right? And so he talks about the Malcolm X experience and how, and I think what he's missing here, and that's because he went to a HBCU, is that if he went, because during his HBCU years, the author at FAMU, he began to have this kind of awakening of blackness, which made him initially align more with the radical, I don't want to say radical, but align more with, yeah, fine, some more radical views that even Malcolm X said were too radical in regards to how we should view other races, right? So we shouldn't be tackling individuals per se. We should be tackling this system that it has been set up to degrade degrade a race of people. Whereas I would say that if he attended a predominantly white institution like I did, you do have moments where I think that there's a more W.B. Du Bois moment, right? So, in which you have to think about, who am I? And as you're identifying yourself as who am I, you realize that you are being created within the anti. So, the culture of the college is whiteness, right? And so there's a quote that I think that stands out. Barack Obama says, only white culture could be neutral and objective. Only white culture could be non-racial. And that's what higher education in predominantly white institutions are, right? So the culture itself is white, even though it's not stated. And so then you're trying, as a young person, you're identifying and trying to understand who you are as an individual. But you're also now crafting yourself as the anti. You are the exact opposite of what you see in the system, and that's who you're developing yourself to be. I don't particularly mesh with this thing that I see. So now, if I'm not that, then that means blackness is anti, and that's how the system is kind of set up. Now, and then you have all of these other racist moments. I'm not going to call them microaggressions because it's addressing. Let's just call them, you have all these racist moments, then that makes you feel even more isolated, and you do come out like a Malcolm X instead of a Martin Luther King. You come out like a Malcolm X because you're angry. And you don't know where to put this anger. You have absolutely no idea where to shuffle this anger in, versus you putting this anger into, instead of putting it into trying to love and appreciate yourself, because there's no space in you thinking of loving and appreciating yourself. And that's just why spaces on predominantly white institutions are really, really important, like Umoja and Black Student Union, Black sororities and fraternities. These spaces allows people to have a space of safeness, of identity. And so when you have non-black people running these spaces, where do these students go? Like, I realize that there's this notion of being an ally by running it, because if you don't run it, then nobody else is going to run it. But it's like the perfect definition of an ally conversation is in the Black Panther movie. The Black Panther movie really, Marvel does and even though it is a bit racist that the only black-led, black-directed, black majority of anything that's on the set happens to be a black movie, like, Marvel needs to do better. Like, Ryan Coogler doesn't just have to only direct Black Panther movies, right? Like, it could be that there could be a black director over the Thor movie. I don't know, but you get my point. And so, are even more black people behind the camera, black writers. That can happen, and that's what Chadwick Boseman is promoting, right? So I So yeah, but what Marvel did do, I'm gonna look at the positive here. What Marvel did do that I think I love, that I know I love, and I use it in my class, is that he gives a great description of the evolution, one of the many things, the evolution of a white person who is European centered in their ideas, right? And the struggle and evolution of what this book is trying to tell you. It is an evolution of the character in being racist, and it's not necessarily that he even believes he's racist, but he is, because this is how he views the Wakandans, right? And then you have that evolution from being racist to anti-racist. And by the end of the movie, he is now understanding what it means to be an anti-racist, and essentially that is the ally. And what that actually, and the turning point for him is when he is in the king's room, and the king's room situated where he wants to overtalk the king. Like, what world do you have a guy who is an FBI agent? In what world does an FBI agent thinks that he should overtalk a king, two kings, and the king's mother? Royal situation, two heads of state, and the FBI person is going to interject and supersede the king. No, right? Why would he ever think that that would be okay? And that's because of race. He's the expert. These two heads of state, because they're black, are not aware. They don't know, but he's the expert. And when the head of state tells him, barks at him, bark, growl, whatever, it shuts him down, because he needs to realize that you are being racist, and I am now teaching you how to be an ally. By the end of the movie, he gets what an ally is, and that's what this book is about. So, as I'm sitting here thinking about this, I'm in a group, and I think that this has led me to, I'm in one cohort at one school. I'm in so many cohorts at different schools. This has led me to develop something, because I think that you have to watch this movie with, you have to read this book with Black Panther. Yeah. Anyway, on that note, this is a long video, and my kids are now awake, and I guess I need to get busy, finish my supplements, walk the dog, make breakfast. Hopefully they go golfing, and have a pretty awesome rest of your day. And tomorrow, I think I will be reviewing a kid's book. I can save them for tomorrow. And The Shy, because I did my video in the morning. That means that I can't talk about The Shy today. I'm going to have to wait till tomorrow to talk about The Shy. Have a great afternoon and the rest of your day, and I'm going to get some work done today. Bye.